From across the Monongahela River, the Carrie Blast Furnaces look like an abandoned relic of a once bustling industry. But to those who know the site, it is anything but.
People are really, really attached to this site. Some because they worked here, some because their family worked here, but others because it's a place of discovery.
Although the Carrie Furnaces are quiet, they have not gone dormant. Over the past decades, all sorts of people have come here. Some were destructive, stripping the site for resellable parts and tagging profanities in graffiti. But others came to make art. Until recently, they all had to trespass.
First time I came here, I was blown away. And I'll admit, first time I came here was the same way a lot of other people came here, and that was through a hole in the fence and in. It was huge and scary and inviting all at the same time.
Ron Bariff works with the Rivers of Steel. The historical preservation organization acquired this site in 2010. Since then, they've been hard at work, finding new ways to attract visitors.
And our mission is to preserve, interpret, and promote the industrial legacy of this region.
They do that through guided tours and, increasingly, events centered around art. There was a time when art was the last thing being produced here.
These furnaces, and they're National Historic Landmarks at this point, they are the last of their type. So they are the only extant pre-World War II blast furnaces left, not just in this district, but anywhere.
The blast furnaces here today are 2 of 7 built in the 1900s. They produced iron, and at their peak, 1,250 tons per day. In 1978, the furnaces were taken offline and slowly entered a new era.
We were drawn to both its scale and former productivity, but also sort of its vast emptiness.
Tim Collin is a local sculptor and one of 6 artists that began coming to the furnaces in the 1990s. They spent every Sunday for a year building a 40-foot-tall deer head made of materials found on site. Since then, it has become a local legend and sparked a new wave of interest.
I could have never imagined that the deer as a sculpture would be as celebrated as it is today.
So what starts as this guerrilla art project has now become probably one of the most popular pieces of public art in this region. And it caused people in this region to step back and say, wait a minute. Maybe this isn't just an underpass, but this is a site that is evocative.
I like to focus on typography, do a lot of lettering. I like color a whole lot, so doing abstract stuff and just shapes, combining them all.
Shane Pilster is a graffiti artist. In the fall of 2012, he started working with Ron to celebrate the more artistic graffiti. Ron reserved a 400-foot-long wall and the interior of a powerhouse for graffiti artists.
The first piece I painted was the Rivers of Steel one, extending an olive branch to show, this is what we're trying to do. It's something positive and something creative and colorful.
But for Ron, there was a more practical reason for embracing graffiti: to deter vandalism.
They're coming in here, creating this art. So let's give them that canvas. And by giving them that canvas and showing that respect, we can then educate them on what we're trying to do. And so far, it's been very, very successful.
Over the years, the Carrie Furnaces have been palette, subject, medium, muse, and now gallery.
Alloy Pittsburgh is a regional artist residency that Sean and I put together over the past year.
Chris McGinnis and Sean Derry selected 15 artists to create installation artworks located at and inspired by the furnaces.
Pittsburgh is itself experiencing a lot of outside interest in the creative happenings in the city, whether it's through the arts or theater, and in that renaissance that's happening in the city at large is, I think, very reflected in the mill itself.
Alloy Pittsburgh launched in September of 2013.
Another one of our artists is going to be having a performance just on the backside of the stockhouse here. So
350 people came, many for the first time.
Wow. It's overwhelming. I was floored by how large it is.
This was every artist's dream.
For some artists, the biggest challenge was competing with the site itself.
It's this immense, beautiful, overgrown site filled with history that's just so beautiful on its own. So the idea of coming in and making work to go in it, it's intimidating.
Will Schlough brought in shiny, multicolored balls to contrast with the hard, rusty iron.
So there's like this great play, I think, between this new, shiny, and this old, really history-filled thing going on, which is kind of, I think, a pretty poignant for Pittsburgh in general.
Bob Militek spent 33 years working with that iron. He's here today as a volunteer guide.
One step at a time, like in life.
I could tell you a lot of stories about the dirt, the dust, the danger, the bells, the sirens. And when I'm in that building over there, I could actually almost hear the voices of the people, which were very distinctive.
While Bob admits he's not a modern art connoisseur, he is happy that it's bringing new interest to the furnaces.
Well, if it pertains to the men who worked here, died here, spent their whole life here, if some connection was there, I'm all for it.
It's Rivers of Steel's goal to create opportunities for those kinds of connections and to inspire future visitors.
Across the board, in all disciplines, people are inspired by this site. They may be inspired by the industrial history of the power of what was made here. Or they could be just inspired by the patina on this rust. It's something that allows us to grow as a region, to understand each other a little better, to understand this place.